Welcome back to ILTV News. U.S. intelligence agencies have concluded in recent reports that Israel is heavily considering a strike this year on Iranian nuclear facilities as the rogue regime continues to pursue an illicit push towards a nuclear weapon. Here's what we know so far about the possibility of war.
As a result of the Gaza war, the axis of resistance has been substantially weakened by Israel in the aftermath of the October 7th massacre. Not only has Hamas been dealt a brutal blow, but Hezbollah has been decapitated in Lebanon, and the fall of Assad in Syria has led to a significant weakening of the Islamic regime's influence in the region. With the rollout of President Trump's maximum pressure campaign, the regime in Iran is even more weakened economically, with little ability to maneuver, even in response to a hypothetical Israeli strike. As such, some Israeli officials are seeing this as an opportune time to deal a heavy blow to the Iranian nuclear program. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that recent intelligence assessments at the end of the Biden administration, as well as the start of the Trump administration, predicted Israel would push the Trump administration to support Israeli-led strikes on the Iranian nuclear facilities as the window of opportunity closes with every step the Islamic regime takes towards the bomb. Such a strike would likely rely heavily on American-supplied arms and would require striking multiple facilities at a severe enough level to debilitate the nuclear program. There's no indication that the United States would take part in such an attack, at least thus far. President Trump noted last week that the reports indicating the U.S. is colluding with Israel to strike the regime were greatly exaggerated, and has consistently stated he prefers a diplomatic nuclear deal. The Islamic regime in Iran, however, has reversed course on its willingness to negotiate, and the Ayatollah Khamenei has publicly voiced opposition to any negotiations with the United States, in addition to other political leadership inside Iran. With a weakened regime and a crippled economy, many believe the time is right to end the Iranian nuclear program once and for all. But Israel will have to consider the agenda of the United States in such actions and what impact it may have on the future of peace accords in the region, such as the much-discussed agreement between Saudi Arabia and Israel.
Hamas will back down from its threat and will return 3 Israeli hostages on Saturday, as per the mediated hostage for ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. The Hamas capitulation comes amid Israeli threats of war. More from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
Senior Israeli officials say they were working hard with mediators to get the deal back on track, and that talks between Egypt and Hamas were heading toward a breakthrough on the hostage deal. Israel reportedly sent a message to Hamas through mediators saying the deal will continue if the terror group released 3 more hostages on Saturday. The Prime Minister warned that if Hamas does not return the hostages by Saturday, the ceasefire will end and the war in Gaza will resume. Netanyahu vowed that Israel will resume intense fighting if Hamas does not meet the deadline. The Trump administration is continuing to take a harder line than Israel on the hostage deal. Trump Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff again warned of big problems if all Israeli hostages are not released by Saturday. He also said that Hamas must not be allowed to continue to remain in Gaza.
Hamas is a terrorist organization, and that they can't be allowed to be a part of the government in Gaza. It's an unhealthy situation, and they need to go. And the president said all that we all need to know, which is Saturday, 12 o'clock, he expects there to be something different occurring, and if it's not, then there's going to be a big problem.
Prime Minister Netanyahu told the cabinet that there is no point in discussing phase 2 of the hostage deal at this moment, while the fate of the first phase is still undecided. Phase 2 would focus on the release of the remaining living hostages and the potential end of the war in Gaza.
Many dream of building a home in Israel, a place filled with meaning, connection, and heritage. Now that dream is a reality with Sparta Real Estate. Jewish families around the world now get to find their home in Israel, whether in the vibrant streets of Tel Aviv, the rich history of Jerusalem, or an escape on a coastal getaway. With Israeli real estate expert Eliyahu Kleinman, every bureaucratic step is taken care of for you. It's that easy. Scan the QR code now to begin your dream, and Eliyahu will contact you directly.
Prime Minister Netanyahu will visit the Southern Command to oversee preparations for the potential resumption of the war if Hamas ends this hostage for ceasefire deal. Defense Minister Katz says if the war resumes, the IDF will help realize the Trump plan for Gaza. We have more from ILTV's Devo Klein.
IDF operational plans are in place to resume offensive actions to prepare for the possibility of a resumption of hostilities if Israeli hostages are not returned by Saturday. Defense Minister Katz said it most directly. There will be war if hostages are not released.
אם החמאס לא ישחרר את החטופים הישראלים עד ליום השבת, ייפתחו עליהם שערי הגיהנום בדיוק כמו שהבטיח נשיא ארצות הברית. באתי לכאן היום כדי לוודא שצה"ל נערך כראוי לחידוש המלחמה בעזה. כל הסכם הפסקת האש עם מרצחי החמאס נועד להביא לשחרורם המהיר של החטופים הישראלים המוחזקים בתנאים חמורים ביותר בעזה. ותמורת זה ישראל הסכימה לשלם מחירים כבדים.
According to Katz, the renewed war will not end without the total defeat of Hamas. During his meeting with military leaders, the defense minister indicated that the, quote, new Gaza war will be even more intense and would allow for the realization of President Trump's vision for Gaza. Trump has called for the permanent transfer of the Gaza population to safer locations and the rebuilding of post-war Gaza with the enclave owned by the U.S.
אם חמאס מפסיק את שחרור החטופים, אז אין הסכם ויש מלחמה. מלחמת עזה החדשה תהיה שונה בעוצמתה מזו שלפני הפסקת האש ולא תסתיים ללא הכרעת החמאס ושחרור כל החטופים. והיא תאפשר גם את מימוש חזונו של נשיא ארצות הברית טראמפ ביחס לעזה.
In preparation for the possible return to war, IDF troops and military vehicles are gathering at assembly points just outside Gaza. The army has also called up reservists for the potential operation.
The families of hostages continue to be in a ping-pong game for the lives of their loved ones after recent talks suggest Hamas might be willing to abide by the current ceasefire agreement. ILTV's Shosh Bedrosian has the details on the possible release and signs of life from hostages.
The emotions are high for the families of hostages as the ceasefire deal continues to walk on shaky territory and utter fragility. Only 16 of the 33 hostages named in the first phase of this deal have been released. Families and hostage supporters took to the streets of Tel Aviv today to block the Ayalon highway, calling for the release of the rest of the hostages in captivity. Right now, phase 2 of the deal is still being worked on, and if agreed, Hamas would release the remaining hostages, which are men under the age of 50 years old and soldiers who were kidnapped on October 7th. There have been signs of life from 10 different hostages in Hamas captivity. According to the families, some of the information came from testimonies of recently released male hostages who saw other hostages alive in captivity. Although some families chose not to provide detail on the sign of life they received, others voiced concerns after hearing the state of their loved ones. The mother of Alon Ohel says she learned her son had multiple shrapnel injuries, including in his eye, which he can barely see out of. She also said he's been shackled for 16 months. The family of Nimrod Cohen said a hostage saw him alive 8 months ago in poor physical and mental shape. Meanwhile, the mother of Elia Cohen says her son had been held with returning hostages who were chained, gagged, burned, and hung by their feet. It's unclear which hostages could be released on Saturday if Hamas decides to uphold the deal.
Well, there are many unknowns in the coming days after this back and forth with Hamas on the hostage for ceasefire deal. Here to break down some of the latest news and explore what we can expect to see, at least in the next 48 hours, is Or Yisachar from the Israel Defense and Security Forum. Or, thanks for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you on. Let's start with the head of the octopus, as they say. We saw this new assessment about the possibility of Israel striking Iran sometime this year. How likely do you think this is, and will it prevent the advancement of peace with countries like Saudi Arabia, which is on the Trump agenda?
Good to be with you, Emily. Look, I think President Trump was very clear. He signed a presidential memorandum on February 4th, instructing the Secretary of State to invoke a maximum pressure campaign on Iran. So we recognize that Iran is the head of the snake, as you pointed out, and Israel is committed to deny Iran from ever becoming a nuclear state. That can pose the gravest of existential dangers on Israel. And so right now, Israel, as you know, is busy fighting a multi-front war, all instigated by Iran. Let's not lose sight of what's going on here. And so Iran itself has suffered blows from Israel in October as a response to the missile attack. And I believe that President Trump, while saying that he is not necessarily interested in a military strike, will find out eventually that Iranians will try to fudge things up and to sort of buy time like they always do. And we are just minutes away from a nuclear weapon. We saw the U.S. Director of Intelligence report about how much Iran has resumed enrichment in high levels, and it's inches away from clutching even 5 nuclear bombs if it so chooses. And so I think we're running out of time and the clock is ticking. And right now, the decision is the president's to make. But Israel, I think, will always reserve the right to strike Iran if so it chooses in order to deny it from ever becoming a nuclear weapon.
Now, one of the challenges with a nuclear deal, even a good nuclear deal, is that it doesn't demand a regime change in Iran, meaning this regime can continue its nefarious activities and funding terrorism, especially if down the road we see some form of sanction relief under this president or a future one. How can Israel act against this preemptively, or can they?
Yeah, so we know that the oil exports are of, top priority to Iran, and Trump's executive order actually mentioned how they want to reduce oil exports in Iran to zero. Just to remind everyone that Iran is a petro state. It is completely dependent on oil exports, and since the U.S. sanctions and the sanctions by other countries, oil exports have actually plummeted until such time that China has decided to buy over 90% of Iran's oil. Russia also started to do so as well. And so all these things supporting Iran militarily and so on. And so all these things really come down to Iran needing a deal. Let's not lose sight of what's going on here. Iran badly needs a deal. Rial has plummeted to 900,000 rials per dollar. And right now, their main goal is to make Trump sign any deal that will make him satisfied. But I gotta give a heads up to everyone. Iran will never sign a deal that deny it's for ever becoming a nuclear state. And so we have to be very cautious here. And you mentioned Saudi Arabia. You know, the Saudis, their number one priority is to prevent Iran from ever becoming, from ever acquiring nuclear weapons. And so all of the region can reunite under this idea. That's exactly what's the foundation for the Abraham Accords with the Gulf states and Morocco, and we're looking forward to Saudi Arabia. We don't need to pile up preconditions with the Palestinian state and so on. You can simply have a bilateral agreement between two countries, and I don't see Israel piling up any preconditions on Saudi with other conflicts with the Yemenites and so on. If Riyadh and Jerusalem want to make a deal, let's make a deal. They don't need to wait neither for the Palestinians nor to anyone else.
And we are almost out of time, but I want to give you a final word. Looking at Gaza, of course, we've seen Hamas already balk at this ceasefire deal. Now they're saying they will honor the agreement. What's really going on here? Can we expect to see this hostage release on Saturday?
I should hope so, and I would strongly advise Hamas not to break that ceasefire agreement, and not to break away from it, and to release, if not 3, then 5 or even 10 hostages on Saturday. I warmly recommend that, given the military's plans, the IDF's plan to resume the fighting. And this time around, that won't be, cat and mouse play like what we saw in the past few months, with a full waiver, green light from President Trump to basically, set all hell on Gaza. Let all hell break loose on Gaza. And this time around, that won't be joking around. So I warmly recommend that Hamas does it. And if not, Israel will know what to do.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we are out of time. Or Yisachar from the IDSF. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily.
Another short extension of the Lebanon ceasefire agreement appears to be in the offing. There are also reports that the U.S. is backing an Israeli plan for IDF outposts inside Lebanon after the February 18th deadline for full withdrawal to the international border. More from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
According to the ceasefire agreement with Lebanon, February 18th is the current deadline for Israel to withdraw its forces from all of South Lebanon. But the United States has reportedly agreed to another short extension of the deadline and authorized a long-term IDF troop presence in certain points in South Lebanon. Israel reportedly asked to remain in several locations beyond February 18th. The exact locations were not reported. Under the truce brokered by Washington in November, Israel had 60 days to withdraw from South Lebanon, captured during the ground offensive against Hezbollah in early October. The initial deadline was extended from January 26th to February 18th. Hezbollah were forced to leave South Lebanon and head north of the Litani River. Hezbollah says it does not accept Israeli justifications for staying in Lebanon and is calling for the Lebanese government to demand that they leave. The U.S. State Department has yet to officially respond to the reports. The U.S. chairs the group overseeing the implementation of the ceasefire. The head of the IDF Northern Command, Ori Gordon, said the Army is prepared to reposition itself and the agreement will be implemented. New Lebanese President Youssef Aoun is insisting on the complete IDF withdrawal by February 18th. In a statement, Aoun denied the media reports of another extension. And Israel delivered a caution to Lebanon. It came in the form of IDF warplanes breaking the sound barrier at low altitude over the Lebanese capital, Beirut, and other areas for the first time since the start of the ceasefire.
Tonight, Yitzhak Amit is due to be sworn in as the new Chief Justice of the Israeli Supreme Court. The Prime Minister and Justice Minister are choosing not to attend the ceremony at the president's residence.
The selection of the new Chief Justice was a matter of a bitter political fight, with the Prime Minister and Justice Minister opposing the appointment of Yitzhak Amit. Prime Minister Netanyahu, Justice Minister Levin, and Knesset Speaker Ohana are boycotting the official ceremony at the president's residence. Levin has said he does not recognize the appointment, complaining of what he described as a problematic process by which Amit was selected. The Chief Justice is a symbol of the state and has a number of key statutory authorities. These include deciding the size and makeup of benches and appointing the members of state commissions of inquiry, including the eventual investigation of the war in Gaza. Yitzhak Amit came from humble beginnings. He was born in the Shapira neighborhood of South Tel Aviv. He's the son of Holocaust survivors and graduated with a state religious education. Amit served as an officer in the IDF's 8200 intelligence unit and graduated with honors from Hebrew University Law School. He first became a judge in 1997 and was elected to the Supreme Court in August 2009.
Well, a horrifying video has gone viral as two nurses in a Sydney hospital said they would rather let Israeli patients die than treat them. ILTV's Ariella Lachiani has more.
Two nurses at a Sydney hospital have been suspended after a shocking TikTok video surfaced showing them making anti-Semitic threats and refusing to treat Jewish patients. The video was recorded during a random video chat with Israeli TikTok user Max Pfeiffer. The nurses, identified as Ahmad Rashad Nadir and Sarah Abu Lebda, were wearing medical scrubs when they engaged in a disturbing exchange. Pfeiffer mentioned he was from Israel, prompting a chilling response.
But I'm so upset that you're Israeli. Like, eventually you're gonna get killed and you're gonna go to Jahannam, inshallah.
It's Palestine's country, not your country, you piece
how are
of
you?
shit.
What's her name? How are you, doctors? Wait.
I want you to remember my face.
Okay,
so
okay.
You can understand
Gotcha.
That you will
I have a
die
question
the most
though.
disgusting death.
All right, for sure. I have a question though.
The pair went on to declare that they would refuse to treat Jewish patients, going as far as saying they would kill them.
I won't treat them, I'll kill them.
The video quickly went viral, triggering immediate backlash. New South Wales Health Minister Ryan Park confirmed that both nurses were suspended and are under investigation. The state's anti-Semitic task force is now involved, and authorities have emphasised that such individuals should never work in healthcare again. Following the suspension, the nurses reportedly expressed regret, claiming they were not serious in their remarks. However, for many in Australia's Jewish community, the damage is done. Amid a surge in anti-Semitic attacks across the country, this incident has only deepened fears. The Australian Jewish community has faced increasing hostility since the outbreak of the Israel-Hamas war in October 2023. With attacks on synagogues, community centres and Jewish schools, this latest revelation has left many questioning their safety, even in hospitals.
Well, today is Tu Bishvat in Israel, a holiday marking the new year for the trees and a celebration of the nature in Israel. ILTV's Devo Klein teaches us the customs and significance of this holiday.
Happy Tu Bishvat, or in Hebrew, Chag La'ilanot. This unique day highlights Israel's vibrant nature. Everything from trees to flowers all symbolize renewal and restoration. Traditionally, Israelis engage in Seder Tu Bishvat, a meal containing mostly dried fruit, nuts, and other earthly foods. Each food item has a special blessing said in unison. Additionally, many Israelis connect closely with nature and set out on Tu Bishvat to plant a tree. This holiday symbolizes renewal and rebirth as the trees in Israel recover from the winter and fill with green and colorful leaves ahead of spring. Israeli history is intrinsically tied to nature. In the early 20th century, Israel's land was covered in swamps and bayou-like pools carrying diseases like malaria. However, Jewish pioneers adamant to revitalize the land had completely transformed Israel's landscape to the beautiful, agriculturally rich tapestry that we know today. Tu Bishvat is a holiday that all Israelis can enjoy as we celebrate the new year for the trees, connect to our history, and enjoy the fruit of the Holy Land.
And now it's time for our Hebrew word of the week. Each week, along with eTeacher, we learn a new Hebrew word and relate it to the Bible, current affairs, and our everyday lives. For more info on the Rosen School of Hebrew, please scan the QR code on your screen. But in the meantime, let's hear this week's Word of the Week.
Welcome to Hebrew Word of the Week. I'm Ariella, and in this segment, together with eTeacher, we explore the beauty and depth of the Hebrew language. Each week, we learn a new Hebrew word or phrase and discover how it's used in the Bible, current events, and everyday life. Today's Hebrew word is teva, which means nature. In Hebrew, teva refers to the natural world, everything created by God and untouched by human hands. It encompasses landscapes, wildlife, and the intricate systems of life that surrounds us. In the Bible, teva isn't directly mentioned as we think of nature today, but the natural world is a prominent theme. The beauty and wonder of creation are described in Psalms and other books as a reflection of divine power and wisdom. In modern Hebrew, teva represents both the physical environment and humanity's connection to it. Israelis have a strong relationship with teva, often enjoying hikes, picnics, and outdoor activities that celebrate the country's stunning landscapes, from deserts to mountains. Here are some examples of how the word teva is used in a sentence. HaTeva b'Yisrael hu meyuchad u'meguvan. Nature in Israel is unique and diverse. Anachnu chayavim lishmor al hateva. We must protect nature. If you're interested in learning more about the Hebrew language, check out eTeacher. This online and live course is the most established Hebrew language instruction institution. You can learn with a time-proven method for every level or start from scratch. eTeacher offers dynamic online courses with live video lessons, weekly webinars, and ample support, allowing you to connect with the lively global community for an enriched learning experience. Scan the QR code or click the link below and visit the eTeacher website today to learn more. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Hebrew word teva. I encourage you to reflect on how you connect to teva, whether it's a walk in the forest, enjoying the sea, or simply appreciating a beautiful sunset. Nature offers moments of peace and wonder. Share your favorite experiences in nature in the comments below.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Cloudy skies and rainy showers are expected around most of the country tonight, with temperatures reaching lows of around 6 degrees Celsius or 43 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow we'll see cloudy skies alongside steady temperatures, seeing highs of 16 degrees Celsius or 62 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a wrap for today's news. For the latest updates from Israel on all your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channels, subscribe to our newsletter, and explore our website, ILTV.tv. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel, and be sure to tune in to our live broadcast this Saturday for the release of at least 3 hostages. I'm Emily Schrader. Be well, and thank you so much for watching.